The first election night since the inauguration of Donald Trump has sprung yet another surprise. It was here in France, left-wing outsider Benoit Hamon surging ahead in the first round of primaries of the Socialists and their allies. Hamon, a former education minister who wants to tax robots and give everyone basic universal income, likening his anti-globalization campaign to that of Bernie Sanders in the United States. His runoff rival next Sunday, François Hollande's former Prime Minister, Manuel Valls, calls Hamon's platform unhinged from reality and warns that an Hamon candidacy for president could mean the death of the left as a party of government for a long while. Is Valls right? Is the future of Europe's populist and nationalist, is it more in grand coalitions like in the Netherlands and Germany, where they also have elections this year? Or do voters simply want their left to be more to the left, their right to be more to the right, as they grapple with an era of uncertainty over jobs, wages, and identity? Today in the France 24 debate, we're looking at a splintered left. With us, she chairs the Young European Socialists group, Laura Slimani, municipal councillor in the city of Rouen, and a spokesperson for candidate Benoit Hamon. Thank you for being with us.
Thank you.
Thanks as well to a member of both the French Socialist and the German Social Democrat Party, Elisabeth Humbert-Dorfmüller. Nice to see you again.
Thank you.
You're supported, by the way.
Manuel Valls.
Manuel
Yes,
Valls. And also with us, Nicholas Vineker of Politico, who's been covering this primaries of the left campaign. Actually, it's got, the French have a name of it. They call it the Beautiful Alliance, the Belle Alliance.
I don't try to translate that. I just keep it as simple as possible.
Right. Good.
Yeah.
Good decision.
And from Houston, Texas, historian Robert Zaretsky, who teaches at the University of Houston. Thanks for being with us for that outsider's eye on what's going on here.
Very far outside. Good to be here.
All right. The France 24 debate, where you can join the conversation on Facebook and Twitter, the hashtag F24debate. It's not been a great year to be an incumbent. Just look at turnout from Sunday's first round. A little over 1.5 million citizens cast ballots here in France. When the French right staged its primaries back in November, that number was at 4.2 million. As for the outcome, well, Julia Seeger tells the tale.
Elation among supporters of Benoit Hamon, who swept to first place in the left-wing primaries first round on Sunday. The former education minister said his victory was a sign that French voters are ready for political change. He also warned that to win the election, the Socialist Party would have to unite behind a strong political roadmap.
The Socialist Party has absolutely no chance of winning this election if it doesn't have a political project that carries a strong vision to face a hard right-wing party and a dangerous far-right party. I've said it before, I want to be the one that carries that political agenda that brings social and environmental issues together. It won't be one without the other.
Among 7 candidates, the real contest was seen as being among 3 former ministers under François Hollande. Hamon won 36% of the vote, and coming second place with 31% was former Prime Minister Manuel Valls. In the approach to next Sunday's runoff, he presented voters with a stark choice.
From now on, there is a clear choice to make, my fellow citizens. The choice between certain defeat and a possible victory. The choice between impossible and unaffordable promises and a credible left that can take responsibility for the country.
Coming in third place and eliminated after Sunday's vote was former Economy Minister Arnaud Montebourg, who was once synonymous with the Made in France campaign he launched to try to stimulate the French economy. On Sunday, he called on voters to support Benoit Hamon.
Next Sunday, I will vote for Benoit Hamon, and I invite you to do the same.
Manuel Valls and Benoit Hamon face off in the final round of the primary next Sunday.
Nicholas Vineker, when did you first sense that Benoit Hamon, who's not a household name, could suddenly become the socialist candidate for president?
I think it was a few hours before we had the final vote count. We were trading emails with my French colleague, and he said there's something happening around Benoit Hamon.
So this is a big surprise to you.
It was a fairly big surprise. We expected him to be, he was one of the top three, but for him to come out so far in advance of the other candidates was unexpected. Yeah, absolutely.
How do you explain it?
You can explain it with a desire for, by what is happening inside the Socialist Party and what is happening inside the French left. I think voters have already given up on the idea of a mainstream left-wing candidate being in the presidential, in the second round of the presidential election, and this has turned into, the primary turned into an internal vote on which way the French left is going after 2017. In his victory address, Hamon did not talk about winning the presidential election. He didn't even talk about winning the second round. He talked about the new page, where the left is going after this. I think that's what it was about, and that's why they've chosen to push the party in this direction.
So the idea is the socialists aren't going to win in May, but they may be redefining who they are.
That's certainly what the polls tell us, and we can distrust the polls a great deal. But when you have one candidate at 9%, the other at 11%, and you have Marine Le Pen, leader of the far right, who's at 27%, 3 times the support level that Benoit Hamon has in one poll, you can sort of safely say these people are not going to win the presidential election, and then it becomes about. Well, what do we do? Where does our party go? And it seems we may have failed in 5 years of power, and we're going to have to approach things differently. I think that's the debate now.
Right, the low turnout that mirrors what the polls predict for April's first round, as Nicholas was just saying. That was a poll conducted at the end of last week that was published today. The last time the socialists were this low in the poll was 1969. That was in the wake of the backlash against the student-led general strike of May 68. Laura Slimani, your thoughts on this? Benoit Hamon, is his mission to try to win the presidency, or is that mission impossible? Is his job more to redefine what the Socialist Party is?
That's absolutely his mission, and I think that you shouldn't underestimate the fact that if over, I don't know, 1.5 million, maybe more people have turned out to vote, they didn't vote for the Congress of the Socialist Party. I mean, the Socialist Party has much less activists than that, much less. So it was a vote of hope, and I think that what we have seen with Benoit Hamon, maybe also because we've been freed, like this debate is much freer than we imagined it because François Hollande didn't decide to go, and so we the options are much more open. But I don't think it was. I think it was a vote of enthusiasm for a project that answers the major questions that that citizens are asking themselves about the way working conditions are changing, the way work is changing tremendously, the way the environment is impacting our daily lives, the way that our democratic system, seems like less and less relevant to people. And I think that Benoit Hamon answered these questions through positive answers. And, you can't win an election through fear. You have to create enthusiasm. And, when you're saying, well, he was very low, they're too low in the polls. I mean, we're a few months away still from the election. And a few months before the primaries, no one was giving Benoit Hamon a chance. He was much lower in the polls, and he just more than tripled the polls that he was given at the beginning, because the dynamic was there. And I wasn't surprised. Just to finish, I wasn't as surprised as you, obviously, because I was inside, and you could feel the enthusiasm on the ground, and you can still feel it. And now we're getting even more and more support online. So there is a dynamic, and you don't know when it's going to stop. And I hope that it's going to allow us to go until the presidency.
Here's the essential question. This is how Manuel Valls is trying to frame the conversation, is which is more realistic? Is it more realistic in terms of what the voters want for the socialists, to be left-wing, or is it more realistic to show that you're pragmatic? And I believe the word Manuel Valls used, as we heard in that report, to show what he called a credible left. I suppose the reformist left, the one that's, since 1983, been a social democratic movement.
True. That's exactly the question. I mean, since the financial crisis, but also before that, the social democrat parties in all Europe have been difficulties refining themselves, defining themselves. You have parties that have almost disappeared, like the Greek PASOK. It has almost disappeared in the wake of the crisis. You have the Labour Party, who has had a left
which has gone
Yes,
left, yeah.
exactly, which is comparable to what will probably happen next Sunday with the Parti Socialiste. Nobody would be able probably to tell you what is better for these parties, but what is sure is that they have to redefine themselves, because the real fracture today, for me, is not are we left or are we right, but the real fracture is do we think that globalization might bear a chance for us, or do we think that globalization has been an enormous mistake and we should turn this road back?
So why did you vote for Manuel Valls? You heard Laura Slimani explain the reasons why she voted for Benoit
Absolutely.
Hamon.
So I supported François Hollande in 2012. I am relatively disappointed with what happened in the last 5 years. I think the personality of François Hollande was not up to the challenges. The political line was okay for me, but not the personality. So I think that this political line with a stronger and a more convincing personality could be what the Parti Socialiste needs, although I think personally, I mean, I'm a member of the party, but I'm also an analyst. So I think that Benoit Hamon is going to win next Sunday, and I think that it is, like you say, probably a new start for the party. And it's a solution. It's a solution, and I'm not terrified by that solution.
Can you make something new with something old? This party that's been the same since the 1970s. If the French socialists go with Hamon, it'll mean a break with centrist social democracy, the likes of which the party hasn't seen this kind of break since President Mitterrand kicked the communists out of the cabinet in the early 1980s. Robert Zaretsky, are we about to witness a redefining of the French center-left?
It seems possible. Of course, as a historian, I don't deal with the future. I deal only with the past. But what's taking place right now is reminiscent of what took place in the late 60s, early 70s with the reforming or the remaking of the Socialist Party under Mitterrand. It's also reminiscent of 1920 and the historic break following the First World War. A schism that led to the creation of the French Communist Party and a truncated Socialist Party that was then taken up by Léon Blum. What this will lead to is anybody's guess. Here in the United States, we're dealing with a world of alternative facts quite suddenly. In France, the left is dealing with alternative futures. And it's not clear which way it's going to bend. It does seem clear, as the other panelists have noted, that come next weekend, that Benoit Hamon is going to win the second round.
That's an important point, alternative futures. The one issue that proved a lightning rod is this idea of universal basic income. Hamon came out with it, and it made a big splash. All the other candidates were against it. He was for it. He's the winner. What does that tell you, Robert Zaretsky?
Well, it tells me that he's being true to his word. He's been saying in interviews ever since the beginning of last year that he was thinking in the long term, not the short term, that he saw himself as a strategic thinker or theorist, not a tactician, the way in which Valls has now presented himself very clearly come the second round. And he may well succeed. The problem, as far as I can tell, and I can't tell very far, but to my eyes, for the moment, it does seem that if the party does go to Hamon, it's a party that will no longer be presented or can be presented as one that's interested in governing. It's instead a party that is interested in maintaining purity. Not unlike the Labour Party under Jeremy Corbyn. And I do think that spells danger for the French left, especially because in Great Britain, unlike France, there is no Jean-Luc Mélenchon and there's no Emmanuel Macron. And I think these two were the real winners after yesterday's vote, and not Hamon.
All right, I'm seeing Laura Slimani shake her head. But before I turn to you, let me just ask Nicholas Vineker. Hamon, the candidate who wants to tax robots, how have you been reporting this?
Well, we reported on it very late because, as we said, we weren't really expecting him to come out in front. I've reported on it as a part of a set of idealistic proposals, together with the universal revenue, together with legalizing marijuana, together with ending the Fifth Republic and writing a new constitution and changing pretty much the way everything works. They're pretty much saying not only are we not happy with the way government has been led, we're not happy with the way anything looks in this country, and we want to pretty much start from scratch. That's the impression that I got from reading his program. As a pretty much an.
And are the French ready for this?
The French. Well, again, if you want to go to the polls, legalizing marijuana was a minority position. The universal revenue is a minority position. In Switzerland, it's been rejected. It's been rejected by Parliament in Switzerland. They looked at it in Finland. They never went with it. These are, I don't want to use the word pie in the sky, but they are theoretical debating positions for now, and they haven't gone through anywhere.
As theoretical as working time reduction, or women getting a vote, or women getting abortion, or many progressive measures. So I think that it's difficult to know what's idealistic and what's not. I think it's important to have ideals, because if you don't know where you're going, then you basically end up nowhere. And I completely disagree with the fact that this is that Hamon's victory would mean for us to renounce power. I mean, Hamon's left is a left that wants to govern. What is today risky is to keep on the same path, because what have we been seeing over the past 5 years with the left? I mean, Manuel Valls has been a prime minister, and we have lost all the intermediary elections that that we've been competing in.
Where he was also attacked the entire time.
We are
by
clearly
rebels.
not. We are clearly not in a good position now to win the election. So, what is failing now? Is Valls' strategy failing? Could we maybe give a chance to a candidate that is maybe embodying what the heart of the left is and what people are ready to mobilize for?
All right, a left-wing candidate who's more to the left. We're going to pick up on this point when we come back. You're watching the France 24 debate.